So welcome back. So remember that yesterday we had stopped our discussions on the properties of the region of convergence. I have mentioned the properties. I had listed out the properties of the ROC, but we had not proved any of these properties. So today we will start by proving the properties, and then we will go into the other sections of the third module. Right? So I'll just share the screen and start. Okay, all right. So this is the question with which we will start today's class. A finite duration signal x of t not equal to 0 between limits t1 to t2 and it's equal to 0 otherwise. So x of t is a finite duration signal from t1 to t2 and it's equal to 0 otherwise. You are asked to show that if x of s converges for at least one value of s, then the ROC is the entire respect, right? Now, this is solved like this. Assume that x of s converges at s is equal to sigma 0. Sigma 0 lies on the real axis. I could have taken it as sigma 0 plus omega 0. It will not make any difference. But for ease of explanation, I have taken sigma 0 to lie on the x-axis. S is equal to sigma 0. Assume that x of s converges at this point on s is equal to sigma 0. This means the absolute value of x of s can be calculated as follows. Absolute value of x of s is equal to, or magnitude of x of s is equal to integral minus infinity to plus infinity x of t e raised to minus st dt, which is now less than or equal to integral minus infinity to plus infinity modulus of x of t e raised to minus st dt. So this is easily proven by putting in a few numerical examples. Like for example, you can instead of this integration, if you try a discrete case where this integration will be replaced by summation, it will be very easy to understand. Say for example, put 5 plus 3j, 3 minus 4j, minus 5 plus 6j. So if you add all those, you will get something. And the magnitude of that would be lesser than or equal to the magnitude of less than or equal to the sum of the magnitude of the individual complex values, right? So therefore, it's easily proved. So this is upper bounded by integral minus infinity to plus infinity modulus of x of t e raised to minus st dt. Okay. Is that clear? So, which is equal to, so modulus of x of t e raised to minus st dt, you can write as modulus of x of t into modulus of e raised to minus st. Modulus of x of t into modulus of e raised to minus st dt, which is less than infinity. Since mod of x of s, that's the modulus of x of s, should be finite because x of s converges at s is equal to sigma 0. So this should be less than infinity. So here, since s is equal to sigma 0 and x of t is equal to 0 outside t1 to t2, so now we'll write modulus of x of s at s is equal to sigma 0 will be less than or equal to integral t1 to t2 modulus of x of t e raised to minus sigma 0 t dt, which is less than infinity because it is converging at sigma 0. Now consider another point on the S-plane. Let's say sigma 1 plus j omega 1. Sigma 1 plus j omega 1 with the sigma 1 greater than sigma 0. So we have taken a point on the complex S-plane with the real coordinates as sigma 1 and the imaginary coordinates as omega 1, that's sigma 1 plus j omega 1, located by the point sigma 1 omega 1 in the two-dimensional Cartesian coordinate space. With sigma 1, we take sigma 1 to be greater than sigma 0. Now, the modulus of x of s at s is equal to sigma 1, as before, is less than or equal to modulus of x of t into modulus of e raised to minus sigma 1 plus j omega 1 t dt. Okay. So we will expand this as what? Modulus of e raised to 1 into modulus of e raised to j omega t dt. Right? So this is expanded as e raised to minus sigma 1 t into e raised to minus j omega 1 t. So you can, so if we compute the absolute value would be absolute value of e raised to minus sigma 1 into absolute value of e raised to minus j omega 1 t. So what is the absolute value of e raised to minus j omega 1 t? That's equal to 1. Why? Because, you know, a complex exponential is cos omega 1 t minus this complex exponential, which is e raised to minus j omega 1 t, is cos omega 1 t minus j sin omega 1 t. So the absolute value would be equal to 1. So this reduces to absolute value of e raised to minus sigma 1 t. Absolute value of e raised to minus sigma 1 t, which we can write as e raised to minus sigma 1 t dt. E raised to minus sigma 1 t dt. We're noticing that this, if it is sigma 1 is positive or negative, e raised to minus sigma 1 t is positive. So the absolute value of e raised to minus sigma 1 t is just e raised to minus sigma 1 t. Between limits t1 to t2. So you'll apply the limits here. Integral t1 to t2 modulus of x of t e raised to minus sigma 1 t dt. Now we will modify this expression as integral t1 to t2 modulus of x of t into e raised to minus sigma 0 t into e raised to minus sigma 1 minus sigma 0 into t. Okay, so we'll take this sigma 0 outside. We'll multiply this by e raised to minus sigma 0 t. So again, you have to multiply by e raised to plus sigma 0 t. So that is written like this. So now we will look at this complex exponential. We look at the second complex exponential, which is e raised to minus sigma 1 minus sigma naught t. So we look at this complex exponential, e raised to minus sigma 1 minus sigma 0 to t. So in the interval t1 to t2, So we will look at this complex exponential in the interval t1 to t2. Now we know that t2 is greater than t1. T2 is greater than t1. So the maximum value of this complex exponential, what would be the maximum value? The maximum value of this complex exponential, the maximum value of this complex exponential is e raised to minus sigma 1 minus sigma 0 into t1. Why? Because it's a decreasing exponential. You have sigma 1 greater than sigma 0. So e raised to minus sigma 1 minus sigma 0 into t is a decreasing exponential. So the maximum value would be at t2. Okay. So the maximum value of this complex exponential is e raised to minus sigma 1 minus sigma 0 to t1. So you can therefore write integral t1 to t2 modulus of x of t e raised to minus sigma 0 t into e raised to minus sigma 1 minus sigma 0 to t dt. So what basically you are computing is the area under this function from t1 to t2. Okay. So this term is being multiplied by e raised to minus sigma 1 minus sigma 0 to t. And you have seen that the maximum value of this function is e raised to minus sigma 1 minus sigma 0 to t1. So this should be less than, we'll take that outside and write e raised to minus sigma 1 minus sigma 0 to t1. And the integral between t1 to t2 modulus of x of t e raised to minus sigma 0 t dt. So this is modulus. A line should have been inserted here. So now thus, which means you already have that this function is finite because x of t has a Laplace transform at s is equal to sigma 0. So that was our initial assumption. So this is less than infinity. Why? Because this function is an exponential decreasing function. This is a finite value. E raised to minus sigma 1 minus sigma 0 into t is an exponential decreasing function. And e raised to minus sigma 1 minus sigma 0 into t1 is a finite value. So finite value into this finite value is therefore finite and less than infinity. So which means more x of s converges for real part of s greater than sigma 0. So if x of s had originally existed at s is equal to sigma 0. Now x of s will also exist for real part of s greater than sigma 0, right? So it is already converging at sigma 0. Now the region of convergence will also include the region that is towards the right of sigma 0. Now we look at the left hand side. Consider s is equal to sigma 2 plus j omega 2 with the real part of s is equal to sigma 2 less than sigma 0. So we are moving on to a point on the left hand side of sigma 0. Now the complex exponential here, you have a similar integral here. You will have a similar integral here. Instead of sigma 1, now we will have a sigma 2. So just a second. Now the complex exponential e raised to minus sigma 2 minus sigma 0 into t. So you have a complex exponential e raised to minus sigma 2 minus sigma 0 into t. You get this in the same fashion as in the previous case. Instead of sigma 1, now you have sigma 2. That's it. Now the complex exponential e raised to minus sigma 2 minus sigma 0 into t. Mind you, sigma 2 is less than sigma 0. So this is therefore negative. Minus of minus is positive. So this is an exponential function. The power is positive. And what is the peak value therefore? The peak value would be therefore, since the power is positive, the peak value would be therefore e raised to, peak value would be therefore at t2, right? Because you are integrating from t1 to t2. And now, since the power is positive, you have an exponentially increasing function. And that exponentially increasing function will have a peak value at t2. E raised to minus sigma 2 minus sigma 0 to t2. So, as before, now you have this expression, integral t1 to t2 modulus of x of t e raised to minus sigma 0 t into e raised to minus sigma 2 minus sigma 0 to t dt. Now this has a peak value at t2, so we can take that outside and write this will be less than or equal to therefore e raised to minus sigma 2 minus sigma 0 to t integral t1 to t2 modulus of x of t e raised to minus sigma 0 to t. Now this is finite. This is again finite, so this should be less than infinity, which means x of s converges for sigma 2, which is less than sigma 0. X of s also converges for sigma 1, which is greater than sigma 0. And you already had assumed that x of s had converged at sigma 0. So x of s converges for real part of s less than sigma 0 and real part of s greater than sigma 0. So which means x of s converges for all s. So what's our conclusion? For a finite duration signal, the ROC is the entire S-plane. So we have proved that property of the region of convergence. Please go through that carefully, so it's easy to understand. Please spend 2 or 3 minutes going through the proof of that property. Now we'll find out the Laplace transform of x of t is equal to e raised to minus at between limits 0 less than or equal to t less than or equal to capital T. So it's a finite duration signal existing in the limits 0 to capital T, and it's equal to 0 otherwise. Now, find the Laplace transform of this signal x of t. That again, you can apply the formula. So x of s should be integral 0 to t e raised to minus at e raised to minus st dt. That works out to 1 by s plus a into 1 minus e raised to minus s plus a into capital T. Okay, so that we can very easily prove. Now, since x of t is a finite duration, so you have seen that when x of t is a finite duration, the region of convergence is the entire S-plane. Okay, so the region of convergence is the entire S-plane. Region of convergence should be the entire S-plane. Now, you might make a mistake here. Since you have this 1 by s plus a here, you might think that there is a pole at s is equal to minus a. Because if you put s is equal to minus a, this term becomes 1 by 0. Okay, so that could be a misconception. That is a misconception. You might make a mistake here. But you please note that x of s at s is equal to a would be x of s at s is equal to a. What s is equal to minus a. So s of s at s is equal to minus a would be integral 0 to t e raised to minus at into e raised to minus of minus a into t. So that would be e raised to at. So e raised to at into e raised to minus at is equal to 1. So integral of 1 dt is equal to over integral 0 to t is equal to capital T. So which means x of s does converge at s is equal to minus a. So the function does not have any poles, even though it appears to be it appears that there is a pole at s is equal to minus a. Please understand that there are no poles for this function. For a finite duration signal, the Laplace transform will not have any poles. Okay, is that clear? Okay. Now we will move on to proving the next property, which is show that if x of t is a right-sided signal, then the ROC is a real part of S greater than sigma max. We have stated that property yesterday. So this is your right-sided signal starting from T1 going up to infinity. So the right-sided signal starts from T1 and goes up to infinity. So this is my right-sided signal. Now we will prove this in the similar fashion as we proved the ROC for the finite duration signal. Now let us assume that x of s converges at s is equal to sigma 0. Okay. So therefore you can write modulus of x of s. So you know that it starts from T1, signal starts from T1 and goes up to plus infinity. So modulus of x of s at s is equal to sigma 0. I'll put the limits at the variance. So integral minus infinity to plus infinity modulus of x of t e raised to minus st dt. This is less than or equal to. Actually, it's exactly like the case here, which is you had initially written modulus of this integral, right? So you had you just skip that step. It is less than or equal to modulus of x of s is less than or equal to integral minus infinity to plus infinity modulus of x of t e raised to minus st dt. So you have taken s to be equal to sigma 0. You can even take the real part of s to be equal to sigma 0. So that will mean writing that omega 0 also. So to skip that part, we have just put s is equal to sigma 0. What does it mean? We have x of s converging at s is equal to sigma 0. So modulus of x of s at s is equal to sigma 0 is therefore finite. Converges at s is equal to sigma 0. So that is equal to, that will be equal to integral minus a modulus of integral minus infinity to plus infinity x of t e raised to minus st dt. Now that is less than or equal to integral minus infinity plus infinity modulus of x of t e raised to minus st dt, which is equal to integral minus infinity to plus infinity modulus of x of t into modulus of e raised to minus st. Since s is equal to sigma 0, I can just write this as e raised to minus sigma 0 t dt. And this is equal to, now we will apply the limits. So the signal starts from t1, goes up to infinity. So integral t1 to infinity modulus of x of t e raised to minus sigma 0 t dt. Okay. So now let us consider another point on the s domain, which is towards the right of sigma 0. So which means I consider a real part of s equal to sigma 1 such that sigma 1 is greater than sigma 0, which means it is to the right of sigma 0. Okay. Now, modulus of x of s at real part of s is equal to sigma 1. So I will evaluate the modulus of x of s on that line s is equal to sigma 1. Now this line s is equal to sigma 1 is towards the right of sigma 0. That is sigma 1 is greater than sigma 0. So modulus of x of s at real part of s is equal to sigma 1 is therefore, remember the previous expression for the finite duration case, there the limits were from t1 to t2. So here the limits are from t1 to infinity. So that will be less than integral t1 to infinity modulus of x of t e raised to minus sigma 0 t into e raised to minus sigma 1 minus sigma 0 to t dt. Okay. Now you have sigma 1 greater than sigma 0. So sigma 1 minus sigma 0 is greater than 0. So now within this integral, that's integral t1 to infinity, this is a decreasing exponential signal with a peak value at t is equal to t1. So therefore the peak value is e raised to minus sigma 1 minus sigma 0, e raised to minus sigma 1 minus sigma 0 to t1. The peak value of this exponential signal in the interval t1 to infinity is at t1. Okay, is that understood? So therefore, following our discussions, following the discussions for the finite duration signal, you can therefore conclude here that x of s will converge at the real part of s is equal to sigma 1 greater than sigma 0. So this is the same type of justification here also, like we did for the finite duration signal. So x of s converges at real part of s is equal to sigma 1 greater than sigma 0. Okay. Now we have found out that we have found out that x of s converges for sigma 1 which is greater than sigma 0. Sigma 1 is greater than sigma 0. So now we will have to find out the region where x of s does not converge. Now, where does x of s does not converge? Now you know that x of s cannot include any of the poles of x of s because at the poles x of s does not converge. So let us now consider the poles and find out the pole with the maximum real value, which is sigma max. So identify that pole. So that pole cannot be part of the region of convergence. Okay, so all other poles are towards the left of that pole. So sigma max is the maximum real value of any of the poles of x of s. So none of the poles can be included. None of the poles can be included, right? So therefore, what is the ROC? ROC would be towards the left of sigma max. We already have seen that if there was a sigma 0 where there was a point s is equal to sigma 0 where x of s converged, then x of s converged for all points to the right of that point where the real value of s was greater than sigma 0. Now we also find that given this sigma max, x of s can converge only to the right side of sigma max. Okay. So therefore, what is the ROC? ROC is real part of s greater than sigma max, the maximum real part of any of the poles of x of s. So a similar explanation can be, similar proof can be thought of for the left-sided sequence as well. Okay, so now we will try to find out the Laplace transform of a few signals and then sketch the Poulsbury plot with the ROC also. We will sketch the Poulsbury plot and the ROC along with computing the Laplace transform. So we look at this question first. X of t is equal to e raised to minus 2t into u of t plus e raised to minus 3t into u of t. E raised to minus 2t into u of t plus e raised to minus 3t into u of t. We are in fact looking at a combination of signals. Actually, after a short while, we will see that the Laplace transform obeys the linearity property, and the region of convergence will be the intersection of the individual Laplace transforms. Because first we are discussing the properties of ROC, then we look at the properties of the Laplace. But for the time being, please accept that the Laplace transform obeys the linearity property. It will be proved later. Laplace transform obeys the linearity property, and the region of convergence of the combined signal is the intersection of the region of convergence of the individual components. So x of t is equal to e raised to minus 2t into u of t plus e raised to minus 3t into u of t. So e raised to minus 2t into u of t is Laplace transform to, you know that, 1 by s plus 2 with an ROC, real part of s greater than minus 2. So this is your region of convergence. Okay, and where is your pole? Your pole is at minus 2. There is only one pole, that is at minus 2. Now, what about e raised to minus 3t u of t? Its Laplace transform to 1 by s plus 3. And the ROC is real part of s greater than minus 3. So this is a pole here, and this is the ROC. Okay. Now from linearity property, you have x of t Laplace transform to the combination of this 1 by s plus 2 plus 1 by s plus 3 with an ROC given by the intersection of these two. What is the intersection of these two? So intersection of these two would be at minus 2. Okay. So minus 2, you will have two poles here. That can be shown here. Minus 2 and to the right side of this line. Real part of this is equal to minus 2. So this is the ROC. Now that is shown here. The closed form expression for the Laplace transform is 1 by s plus 2 plus 1 by s plus 3, which is 2s plus 5 by s plus 2 into s plus 3, 2s plus 5 by s plus 2 into s plus 3. Now where do you have your poles? The poles are at minus 2 and at minus 3. And you know that this is a right-sided sequence. Now for a right-sided sequence, the ROC is real part of s greater than sigma max. Now what is sigma max? Sigma max from this problem, it is equal to minus 3. Sorry, minus 2. That's the max of the two poles. Minus 2 and minus 3, the max of the two poles is minus 3. So you have poles at minus 2. This is the pole at minus 2. This is how you usually mark a pole, using a cross sign. And you have a pole at minus 3. And you have a 0 at minus 5 by 2. So minus 2.5. This is your 0. This is how you usually represent a 0. Okay, so the ROC would be towards the right of real part of s is equal to minus 2. Or the ROC is real part of s greater than minus 2. Is that understood? Now we move on to the next question, which is e raised to minus 3t into u of t plus e raised to 2t into u of minus t. So the first is a right-sided signal and the second is a left-sided signal. Now x of t will be having a Laplace transform given by the linear combination, similar linear combination of the individual Laplace transforms with an ROC given by the intersection between the individual ROCs. Now this is Laplace transform to 1 by s plus 3 and this is Laplace transform to minus 1 by s minus 2. This is e raised to plus 2t to u of minus 2. Okay, this should have been minus e raised to, remember that minus e raised to minus 18 to u of minus t is Laplace transform to 1 by s plus a, real part of s, ROC is real part of s less than minus a. Okay. Now the ROC is therefore the intersection between the individual ROCs, which is the real part of s greater than minus 3 intersection real part of s less than 2. So we'll mark those points here. This is 2, this is minus 3. The first ROC is towards the right side of minus 3. That is your that's the ROC of the causal signal. That's the right-sided signal. And the second is the ROC of the left-sided signal. So this is the ROC. Okay. Now x of t therefore can be combined as minus 5 by s plus 3 into s minus 2. Minus 5 by s plus 3 into s minus 2. So you have a two-sided sequence. You have seen that for a two-sided sequence, the ROC is a rectangular strip between two s is equal to sigma 1 and s is equal to sigma 2. So that is what is happening here. S is equal to sigma 1, s is equal to sigma 2. For a two-sided signal, this is a rectangular strip. Okay. Look at another signal. It is not necessary that all two-sided signals have Laplace transform. So we look at another two-sided signal to illustrate that. X of t is equal to e raised to 2t into u of t plus e raised to minus 3t into u of minus 2. E raised to 2t into u of t plus e raised to minus 3t into u of minus 2. So the first is Laplace transform to 1 by s minus 2. ROC is real part of s greater than 2. Okay. And the second is Laplace transform to minus 1 by s plus 3. ROC is real part of s less than minus 3. So minus 3, you have this line, real part of s is equal to minus 3. And you have the ROC to the left of real part of s is equal to minus 3. Okay. To the left of real part of s is equal to minus 3. So what does it mean? The first ROC is greater than 2. Real part of s greater than 2. And the second ROC is real part of s less than minus 3. So there is no intersection between the individual ROCs. So there is no region of convergence for x of t. Or in other words, x of s does not converge anywhere on the s plane. So there is no point in finding the closed form expression for the Laplace transform. There is no Laplace transform. We'll look at another two-sided signal here. X of t is equal to e raised to minus a mod t. So e raised to minus a mod t for a greater than 0, that is where a is positive, e raised to minus a mod t will be like this. It's exponentially decreasing. You have seen that. This is exponentially decreasing. Since a is positive, so this is an exponentially decreasing signal. Actually, this is e raised to minus 80 into u of t plus e raised to 80 into u of minus t. So that is exponentially decreasing towards either side of the y-axis. Now, when a is less than 0, this is an exponentially increasing function on either side. So it exponentially increases to either side. So here the maximum value is equal to 1 and here the minimum value is equal to 1. Okay. You are asked to find out the Laplace transform of both signals. Sketch the Poisson plot and ROC for a greater than 0 and for a less than 0. So this is your x of t, can be written as e raised to minus 80 into u of t plus e raised to 80 into u of minus t. Now, this gives you 1 by s plus a minus 1 by s minus a is equal to minus 2a by s plus a into s minus a with an ROC minus a less than real part of s less than a. So minus a less than real part of s less than a. We never write less than or equal to. Why? Because those two lines are not included. Minus a less than real part of s less than a. Now, for a less than 0, for a less than, so this is case for a greater than 0. Now for a less than 0, what will happen? For a less than 0, minus a would be positive. So minus a would be positive and the ROC would be like this. Okay. and plus a would be negative, and the ROC here would be like this. So towards the right of this line and towards the left of this line. So which means the ROCs do not overlap. Okay, so what does it mean? There is no Laplace transform for the case where a is less than 0, whereas for this you can find the Laplace transform. Okay, so that's all about our problems on the region of convergence of Laplace transform. We have proved most properties. It's actually we have left out one of the properties, which is to find out the ROC of a left-sided sequence, so that we can prove in the same manner as you did for the right-sided sequence. Okay, we'll stop now for this video lecture, and then we will continue to discuss the properties of Laplace transforms, and then we will formulate the expression for the inverse Laplace transform and see the relationship between the Fourier transform and the Laplace transform. Okay, thank you very much.